Hey guys, so most of you guys probably know about the Puppetmaster hero from the Dataleak because he is the most famous hero out of all the Dataleak heroes. But despite this, nobody really knows who he could be. But what if I told you we have known him for a long time? What if the Puppetmaster hero is the infamous Aghanim? I know it might sound crazy, but get ready to get your mind blown. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why I think Aghanim might be the Puppetmaster hero from the Dataleak. So without further ado, let's begin. So first off, we should know who Aghanim is. You might already know who he is if you watched the video I did on Aghanim a while back. And in that video I said that although he looks and acts friendly, he's actually a sinister figure. And this is backed up by the fact that Aghanim is actually based on one of the villains of Legends of Zelda called Aghanim. And the Dota 2 Aghanim have a lot in common with this Zelda Aghanim, like the fact that both of them are really powerful mages, they both have a bluish skin tone, and the fact that both of them have gone to some other realm at some point in their story. So as you can see, they have taken some inspiration from the Zelda Aghanim for the Dota 2 Aghanim. And the base for this theory starts from the Zelda Aghanim, because one of the abilities that the Zelda Aghanim had was the ability to mind control others, which sounds a lot like a puppet master to me. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into the interesting parts. The 2020 Dataleak and the 2021 Dataleak both contain the puppet master hero, and I did a Dataleak analysis video on both of these Dataleaks. But something I noticed in the recent Dataleak puppet master is that his spells seem to be taking an evil clown-like theme. Now you must be wondering what's this gotta do with Aghanim. Well, starting off, Aghanim has a fun and a jolly personality like we saw in the Aghanim's Labyrinth. This, coupled with the fact that he is actually based on an evil villain from Zelda, makes him sort of like an evil clown. And on top of that, he literally says that he is not in his right mind in one of his voice lines, which sounds a lot like something a deranged clown would say.
I've been lost beyond the astral plane, moving hither and yon between dimensions for countless lifetimes. My mind is as warped as my sense of time.
And Aghanim's other voice lines show that he is a bit of a narcissist.
Have I mentioned who your final challenge is? Because he's very famous. Do you have an autograph book? Is it covered in your own blood? Because it soon will be. You have bested Aghanim's champions. Today you have earned something better than riches. My respect. No riches. Aghanim the Popular welcomes you, his best friend, back to your doom.
This shows that he really likes to be in the spotlight of attention and loves it when people praise him. And the recent 2021 Puppet Master had two abilities called Limelight and Standing Ovation. And in my Dataleak analysis videos, I predicted that the Limelight ability puts him in the spotlight of attention, while the Standing Ovation ability forces enemies to clap for him. So both of these abilities fuel his narcissistic tendencies for attention. So these unused voice lines from Hoodwink to an unknown hero might be referring to Aghanim.
We could have been great together, but you always get blinded by the floodlights.
And that's not all, because then we have the Puppet Master's Siphon Soul spell, which I predicted would be an ability that steals the HP from a target enemy and uses this soul energy to fuel his other ability named Craft Puppets. I think I was a bit off about this prediction, because now I think this ability doesn't steal HP from a target, but it might be similar to the spell that Aghanim had in Aghanim's Labyrinth, where he trapped a spell of an enemy in a shard, because it kinda seems like he's trapping a part of the enemy's soul inside a shard, which effectively locks the ability until the shard is shattered and the soul fragment is released. This also lines up with the fact that the Siphon Soul ability fuels the Craft Puppet spell, because Aghanim also creates a bunch of golems along with this ability. So these golems might be represented in the puppets of the Craft Puppet spell. And the reason why they didn't use actual puppet models and use tiny models instead is probably because they didn't want to give away that Aghanim is the Puppet Master. Speaking of Aghanim shards, then we have the Funhouse spell, which I predicted would be a spell like Arena of Blood with Funhouse mirrors as its walls. What if these aren't Funhouse mirrors but Aghanim shards that are used to create twisted delusions of enemies who are trapped inside the Funhouse? Speaking of Funhouse, what if the whole Aghanim's Labyrinth is actually a funhouse itself? I mean, think about it. It contains a bunch of rooms with an array of scary creatures, which I'm pretty sure are a bunch of creatures that he's mind controlling like puppets to fight the heroes during this event. And the way he narrates during this event sounds a lot like a circus host, where he describes the creatures that are featured in his wondrous labyrinth, which is actually a huge funhouse.
There are only two ways to leave this cursed place. On your back or on your front. It sort of depends on which way you fall when you die. It's a time trial! Go! I'm not even going to waste time explaining it! You're on the clock! Go! The rock golems will be most pleased. Wait, where are the rock golems? Sleeping! Maybe no rock golems today. Familiar monsters from unfamiliar dimensions hungrily await. You dare see what deadlier forms emerge from Aghanim's portals? Then step right up and channel yourself a serving of certain death. It's hard to imagine that across the infinitude of dimensions that any creature could be endangered, but alas, these corpulent lads are the last of their kind.
And there are more similar voice lines like this, but you get the point. And on top of all that, we have the biggest clue of them all, which is Rubick. And I think Rubick is a living puppet created by Aghanim and not really his son. And the fact that Rubick is a creation of Aghanim is proven by these voice lines.
Rubick claims to be Aghanim's son. I'm not sure I believe it, but I certainly wouldn't say that to Rubick's face.
Whatever can be made can be unmade, I figure.
And on top of that, Aghanim literally says that he is a crafter himself.
Any layman with a feeble grip can carve wood or hammer steel. But to create something takes rare hands, shrewder hands, handsome, brilliant hands. The hands that forged the first scepter of power.
All of this would explain why Rubick has twitchy puppet-like movements in-game. And it would also explain why Rubick and Aghanim look so different from each other despite them being father and son. Which, if you think about it, is not really a lie, because Aghanim created Rubick, so he is technically his father. And the Puppetmaster hero has a spell named Mannequin, and I predicted that this spell would be an ability that creates a mannequin that attaches onto enemy and makes them do the Puppetmaster's bidding. And I think Rubick is a sentient mannequin made by Aghanim, but instead of making others do what he does, Rubick copies what others do, which is basically the exact opposite of what Aghanim created him for. This would explain why Aghanim doesn't care for Rubick, like I said in my previous Aghanim's Law video, because he considers Rubick to be a defected mannequin. However, Rubick idolizes his creator and considers Aghanim to be his real father, and even tries to be like him. I mean, he literally made a copy of his father's famous scepter to be just like him. But what if this is not his only attempt to be like his father? What if this set is his biggest attempt to be just like his father? I mean, this set's name is Fantogeni's Dilemma, which basically translates into Puppet Master's Dilemma. This makes sense because Rubick is a puppet who is trying to act like the puppet master who created him, hence the dilemma. And even before we knew that Aghanim was the puppet master of Rubick, we always knew that Aghanim is definitely more powerful than Rubick. So if all of this is true, this already known fact starts to make much more sense, because Rubick has the power to copy his enemy's spells, one at a time, for a limited amount of time, without putting the original user's spell on cooldown, while his father Aghanim, being the puppet master, can probably control his enemies to do his bidding and forcefully cast all of their spells, wasting their spells and putting them on cooldown, which is a pretty powerful type of wizardry if you ask me. This is what makes Aghanim the Apex Mage, and one of the greatest wizards of all time, like stated in this voice line.
Aghanim is the greatest wizard of all time. There is no question, there is no debate. No one is his equal.
So because of all these factors, I think Aghanim might be the puppet master hero from the Dataleak, because I can imagine him using his four hands to utilize multiple puppet strings with ease. All of this would explain why Aghanim doesn't have any voice lines directed towards him in the unused voice lines of existing heroes. I mean, the Aghanim's Labyrinth event proved that it's only a matter of time before he's released into the game. What if we were looking at the wrong place for the wrong person all this time? And all of these voice lines that are directed towards the puppet master is actually directed towards Aghanim, because he is the puppet master. So with all of this in mind, all of these voice lines starts to make sense.
Get out of my head! No one controls a god while I'm around! Not even the fates control me! You should have made me kill myself, because that was your only chance! There is something seriously wrong! I can't hear you! Wait, I don't see any strings. When I put an enemy in the arena, don't let them out!
Who doesn't like a little bit of control?
That's for taking advantage of Mortimer.
So I had an idea for like an obstacle course where the obstacles try to kill you. So, what can you do? I trust I've made myself clear. Easier than killing practice dummies.
The string of my bow draws only at my command.
We could have been great together, but you always get blinded by the floodlights. I know I'm a born star, but the answer's still no. I'm gonna get huge props for this back home. I don't even know enough about you to care you're dead.
So Aghanim, aka the Puppet Master, already have a bunch of voice lines directed towards him. So I think Aghanim will be released as a new hero for the 7.30 update, aka the Great Confluence update, which I predicted would come after the TI-10 in the recent video I did about the 7.30 update. But I think the Great Confluence update was actually meant to be released after last year's TI-10. But since the TI-10 was postponed, the Great Confluence update was also postponed. I say this because the Aghanim's Labyrinth came out right before the TI-10, and I think the whole Aghanim's Labyrinth event was supposed to be like a teaser for releasing Aghanim. But since their original plans were disrupted and the TI-10 was postponed because of the pandemic, they also postponed Aghanim's release with it. And when they released the Mistwood update to keep us engaged, they released some of the content that was supposed to be released with the Great Confluence. And one of these things was the introduction of the Scepter Shard upgrades, which I'm pretty sure was supposed to be introduced into the game along with Aghanim himself. I mean, the Aghanim's Labyrinth basically gave us a heads up before releasing the Scepter Shard upgrades. Plus, back in the days leading up to the Aghanim's Labyrinth event, when you bought a scepter in the demo lobby, a mysterious voice said the word scepter.
Scepter.
And now we know that this mysterious voice is Aghanim's voice, and this is very similar to how the banana item appeared prior to the 7.00 update, hinting the release of Monkey King. And the 7.00 update was one of the biggest updates ever in Dota 2, and I'm pretty sure that the Great Conference update, like its name suggests, is gonna be a huge update just like the 7.00 update. All of these are clear signs that Aghanim was supposed to be released last year after the TI-10 in the Great Conference update, along with the introduction of the Scepter Shard upgrades. Speaking of the Great Confluence, in my previous video I did about the Great Confluence, I said that the Great Confluence is going to be the merging of HoN and Dota 2, and there's actually a HoN hero named the Puppetmaster. So the Puppetmaster hero from the Dataleak is a HoN port. This is probably the reason why they cancelled the release of Agony and didn't release him yet, because he is technically a HoN port, and the whole point of the Great Confluence is to introduce these HoN ports into Dota 2. And this HoN Puppetmaster have a bunch of skins that have the names like Sculptor, Game Master and Freak Show that all seems to fit Aghanim's character as a whole. So Aghanim is the Puppetmaster hero from the Dataleak that is based on the Puppetmaster hero from HoN. I actually tried disproving my theory about Aghanim being the Puppetmaster by cross-referencing Aghanim's traits and the other possible characters who might be the Puppetmaster, like the girl and the enchanter who created the Toy Butcher, Venus and Kana from Artifact, and Anna6 from Dota Underlords. So since it's a waste to talk about all of them, you guys can pause the video and read about all of the other Puppetmaster hero candidates if you like, but I assure you that none of them didn't even come close to being the Puppetmaster hero than Aghanim. Plus I found something else that supports this theory, but it deserves a video on its own, so I saved that video for later. But if you ask me, the points that I listed out in this video is more than enough proof to show that Aghanim is the Puppetmaster hero from the Dataleak. So yeah, that's it for this video guys. I know it's probably a lot to take in and it's a crazy theory, but despite all of this craziness, this theory makes a lot of sense to me. But anyways, I want to know what you guys think about this theory. Do you guys now believe that Aghanim might be the Puppetmaster hero from the Dataleak? Let me know your thoughts about this theory in the comment section down below, because I would love to know what you guys think about all this. Also guys, I mentioned a couple of other videos in this video, like the Aghanim's lore video I did a while back, so if you guys haven't watched them yet, you might want to check them out to get a full understanding of everything I said in this video. So I'll leave the links for those videos in the description box below if you guys want to check them out. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.